What if the planets are not just objects in the sky, but places your soul has actually been? To be sure, there are valid symbolic and metaphorical aspects to such thinking, involving psychological archetypes, but the Cayce readings go much further. The planets of this solar system are genuine environments of consciousness, places where you exist, learn, and develop between your earthly lives. That is exactly what the Cayce readings describe. And they are not alone. This idea reaches back at least to Plato, runs through Dante, re-emerges in the work of C.S. Lewis, and now has a surprisingly serious foothold in modern physics. At the end of Plato's Republic, a book ostensibly about political philosophy, something extraordinary happens. Plato tells the story of a soldier named who dies in battle. His lifeless body lies for 10 days without decomposing. Then, on a funeral pyre, he revives and reports what he saw. What describes is an afterlife journey through celestial realms. Souls are gathered in a meadow, what the Cayce readings call the borderland or inter-between. There is a column of light extending through the heavens and a great spindle of necessity on which all the celestial revolutions turn, including the paths of the planets. And then provides an extraordinary image. The souls, having drunk from the river of forgetfulness, are driven upwards like shooting stars. The Cayce readings echo this imagery directly. They describe the skein of time and space and the soul's warp and woof of inner experience during planetary sojourns. Even the spindle of necessity finds its counterpart in what the readings call the soul's flight from a planetary sphere at the time of physical birth. Plato wasn't writing mythology. He may have been recording something closer to what we would now call a near-death or out-of-body experience, all preserved inside a philosophical treatise for 2,500 years. Centuries after Plato, this framework became the standard cosmology of the educated world. With the adoption of the Ptolemaic model of the universe, Earth at the center, surrounded by nested celestial spheres, the idea that souls journey through planetary realms after death was simply assumed. Dante built his entire Divine Comedy on this architecture. The soul's ascent through purgatory and paradise follows the order of the planets. Each planetary sphere is not just a location, but an educational environment, a stage of purification and development. What is striking is how closely this maps to the Cayce readings' description of planetary sojourns as environments of soul growth, each with its own distinctive qualities and lessons. The readings even specify the qualities of each planet. And the thread continues into the 20th century. C.S. Lewis, one of the most widely read Christian authors of the modern era, built his space trilogy on exactly this medieval cosmological framework. The consciousness of each planet provides the mental and spiritual environment for the entire narrative. Lewis was not writing naive space fantasy. He was recovering an ancient understanding. Medievalist Michael Ward later discovered that Lewis had also encoded the 7 planetary qualities into the Chronicles of Narnia, each book operating within the symbolic environment of one planet. This was not accidental. It was deliberate. Lewis believed the medieval model pointed at something real. Some respected Cayce scholars have argued that planetary sojourns are purely symbolic, that the planets represent dimensions of consciousness, not literal locations. They argue that planetary sojourns represent archetypes, not destinations. But there is a different and more philosophically careful position. Symbolism and actuality need not be mutually exclusive. Here is why this matters. The readings describe something called soul birth. the moment around the time of physical birth when the soul entity takes flight from a planetary sphere and enters the body. Cayce's readings note actual differences between the timing of physical birth and soul birth, sometimes by hours. And individuals seeking astrological information asked Cayce to be precise about the soul birth time because the position of actual planets at that moment mattered. If planetary sojourns were purely symbolic, the position of actual physical planets would be irrelevant. But the readings treat it as essential. Something real is happening, even if its full nature requires a framework beyond ordinary three-dimensional space. Which brings us to the question, what physical framework could possibly make sense of this? The short answer is a hyperspatial model of mind and matter, as has been proposed by physicist Bernard Carr. But that's for another video that addresses the more technical aspects of planetary sojourns and hyperdimensional reality. Planetary sojourns are relevant to understanding the soul's journey. The readings insist that astral influences manifest as innate mental urges and tendencies during earthly incarnations. Thus, the lesson is, know thyself. This may be facilitated through the use of astrology or by the psychological equivalent of studying subconscious planetary archetypes in the manner of Carl Jung, or simply by quiet introspection. As you reflect on the various planetary archetypes, which patterns resonate with your own temperament? What might that tell you about where you've been in your own cosmic adventure?